Hey, family. This is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, this is episode 142. 142 weeks of consistency, 142 weeks of getting it done. We outside. Guys, every time I turn this camera on and start this podcast and do the podcast, I get excited, man, because there was once a time where I was scared, nervous, afraid to speak in front of anybody. And I don't know if you've seen the beginning of the intro to the podcast. I just changed it up where I'm showing different times where I've spoken in the last, year or so. And it's phenomenal to see the maturation, the growth, pause, of what I've been able to do through God's help and God's grace, being able to speak to different audiences about financial literacy, which is a passion of mine. And I'm just super appreciative and super grateful every time. So if you please don't get tired of me saying this because you have no idea where I've come from to be able to do this. And I'm just super grateful and super excited. So I always need to say that, man. For all you introverts out there, I would say you have a message, you have something to share with people. So please do not be afraid to say whatever you need to say. Do it afraid, do it ugly, but do it. Don't not do it because there is greater things on the other side of your perseverance. So I just wanted to make sure I said that. If you're a first time listener, watcher, or subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's because we are 1000% on the way to the M's. And you may be a new listener. You're like, what is M's, Che Willis? Glad you asked. We are talking about millions, millions of dollars in dollars as well as assets. We are getting to it. And how are we going to get to it? We are reducing our expenses and then we're taking that money that's left over and marching it into the marketplace to make us some money babies. That's exactly how wealthy people do it. That's exactly how we're doing it. And on Wealth as a Journey, we're giving you different tips and tricks, mindset shifts that need to happen in order for you to get to where you need to be financially. So, speaking of that, I had another great conversation with my man. And one of my guys, he just had a baby, and he was asking me, like, yo, what would you do if you had a newborn? And what would you do to help build wealth for your newborn? And he was like, "Hey, I thought about getting them a life insurance policy. I thought about a whole bunch of different things, but I just wanted to see what you thought about building wealth for a child." So I said, "Well, I'm glad you asked, man, because I've been on a journey to help build wealth for my child at a young age, and I believe the very first thing that you need. There's a bunch of different things we're going to talk about, but the first thing that we need is wisdom. Like, I believe that you cannot be wealthy without wisdom. So, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge, experience, understanding, and insight to make sound judgment and decisions. I'm going to read that one more time. Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge, experience, understanding, and insight to make sound judgment and decisions. So, what does that mean? That means to me, what did I learn either yesterday, the day before, or when I was a kid to make better sound judgment and decisions? It's really that simple. So what did you learn? What did life teach you so you can be in a better financial situation? So before I start, I'm going to tell you what wisdom told me for if you are new to this podcast. And if you are a return listener, I'm going to try to make this story as brief as possible. During the pandemic, I had situation where everybody obviously had to sit down, and we were trying to give our kid, my wife and I, all these different experiences before the pandemic happened. But then the pandemic forced us to sit down and kind of like assess what we were doing. And during that time, wisdom told me that I can either give my kid everything I didn't have, which we were at the time, experiences, clothes, fancy trips, and different things of that nature we were doing for him, or I could do all those things, which I just named, and also show him how to budget money, how to invest money. So from the time the pandemic happened until now, we've been meeting at least once a month with him and his cousins, and we're going over different financial questions that they'll understand because they're younger. My son just turned 14. My nephew, he's 16, I believe. And then my other nephew, he's 12. So trying to give them information on all of their levels that they'll understand, but at the same time, they'll be able to apply the information once they get out on their own. And oh, by the way, they get $25 a month to invest into any stock that they want. Why am I doing that? Because wisdom taught me that I knew absolutely nothing about investing when I got out there on my own. So if I'm a parent and I'm an investor, it would make sense for me to tell my kid exactly what I know or don't know for that matter. What's going on, family? My name is Che Willis, the medicine to your financial headache, and I help families living paycheck to paycheck live the life that they want to live through financial planning and wealth management. Did you know that the number one cause for divorce is money fights and money problems? If you are struggling financially with your spouse, you have come to the right place. We have an online course, we have a community, and we have one on one coaching that can help you live your best financial life and cut down on a lot of the money fights that you and your spouse are currently having. So if you are struggling, please make sure that you go to wealthisajourney.com to fix the issues that you guys are having currently surrounding money. A lot of us were never taught, and that's okay. But if you know that you need help, do not stay stuck. It's time to start living your best financial life with your spouse starting today. So go to wealthisajourney.com so you can start living your best financial life starting today. Let's go. But at the end of the day, wisdom taught me to, instead of giving my son everything that I didn't have, which he did, why don't I teach him the things that I know as well? Why am I saying that? Because the question was for my man is, how do I build wealth for my kid? It For me, it started with me. I needed to learn everything that I could so then I could be dangerous enough to then pass the information down to him. So I told him, no, do not, going back to the conversation with my man, don't get a life insurance policy. And if you are in the life insurance world, please do not come for me. The reason I say that don't get an insurance policy is because if you don't bring income in as a child, the insurance policy, in my opinion, would be there to replace your income. And since you're not bringing in any income as an infant or a newborn, there's no reason to have an insurance policy. So what I asked him was, hey, what's the budget looking like? And he said it's non-existent. And I'm so appreciative of his honesty. So I told him that the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up a budget to make sure that you're, again, going back to what I said earlier, reducing your expenses. The reason that we're reducing your expenses and paying down any debts that you have, it's going to do a couple things. It's going to increase your credit score if you want to borrow more money to make that money make you more money later on down the line. It's going to also decrease the amount of money that you're going to have to pay when you're borrowing the money. And then also, it's going to show you how money actually works. and not, okay, well, I'm going to get an insurance policy and use the death benefit and all those different things. I believe that a lot of those products we can actually do on our own. If you just have a basic understanding on how to save money and build an emergency fund, how to save money, and then invest it into a vehicle, whether it be the stock market or any vehicle that's going to bring you a return. Also, save money to build an emergency fund for those times that you have an emergency that happens and you don't have to swipe a credit card because when we're not learning how money works, then when things come up, we just want the problem to go away. So the first thing that we see, we're going to go ahead and utilize that thing, whether it's credit cards or something of that nature that's going to get you in more financial trouble when you don't know how to pay or not don't know how to pay, when you're not in the habit or the routine of paying the things back as fast as they should be, incurring a bunch more debt on top of the debt that you're already paying in, incurring interest payments and things of that nature. Again, making the bank richer and you broker. And we are not trying to do that. So I told my man to set the budget up, uh, listing all of his expenses and any debts that he has, consumer debts, credit cards, car payments, student loans, things of that nature, listing those smallest to largest, and then working on knocking them down one by one by one while simultaneously paying the minimum payments. And then get the emergency fund set up. And then once he has all of those things working, then that's when he can start investing for his son. So the first thing that I told him, hey, once you're ready, you have multiple different options. You can then set the kid up with a 529. Now I know with the 529 plan, um, it's a school associated product that you can either send your kid to private school or buy books or anything educational. You can use the 529 plan for. We have a 529 plan for our son. We started him on the 529 plan back in 2016. Now he's to the point because we budgeted our money every month and we put a certain amount of money away for him based on what we had left over in our budget. And we did that consistently every month from 2016 until last year. And now we're not funding it anymore. We're now allowing the market to fund his college fund. And so it's not something that we had to do forever, but it's to get it to a point where now the dividends that he's receiving in the account is now making him money to then send him to school. So now he has a fighting chance. So when he gets out of school, he doesn't have any debt. So I went to a small school and wisdom taught me that even though my student loans at the time when I got out of school were only, I believe they were either 13 or $17,000. It was a long time ago. Wisdom taught me that I know how it feels to have student loans. So I don't want my son to have student loans because I understand that he needs a leg up as best as possible when he gets out of school. And so having hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt before he gets a job is not the move. So that's what I told my man. You can get a 529 plan for him. Also with the 529 plan, if you're a new listener, I talked about this before. If you if you don't use all of the money for the 529 plan, you can use that to build generational wealth for your kid. Let's just say in this scenario you have a 529 plan and you have $35,000 left over in this scenario. So the kid goes to school, he only needed a specific amount, he has $35,000 left over. Now, instead of you receiving penalties for that money, if you pull it out and try to use it on your own, you can continue to build generational wealth for your kid because it's something called the Secure 2.0 Act. Basically, what that does is you can take I believe it's up to $7,000 out of the 529, roll it over into an IRA for your kid. You can do $7,000 per year into this account. So you can use all $35,000 of it. It's up to $35,000, which is why I use that in the scenario. So you can use it up to $35,000, and that money will then grow every year, receiving dividends and growth of the mutual funds that are inside of the 529, or in this scenario, the IRA. And this money can be hundreds of thousands of dollars for your kid when they become retirement age. So I believe that they can't take the money out until they're 59 and a half. But just think about that. Think about where your kid could be if they have all of this money working, and then if they start contributing to it, where they could be. Like, that's real wealth building. They don't have student loan debt. Then they have hundreds of thousands of dollars waiting for them to retire. Like, that's real generational wealth. So I told him about the 529 plan. And then the last thing I told him, because there's a bunch of different ways that you can build generational wealth for your kid, but the two things that I told him about was a an UTMA, Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. Basically, what this account is for your kid or niece or nephew, because the accounts that I have for my niece and nephews, I set up as an UTMA account for them and my son. What this account does for you is you're the custodian of the account. So you control whatever money you put in, or if somebody gives money for birthdays or holidays, or um uh if they get good grades or whatever the case may be, they can give you the money, and then you put the money in the account, and then you invest the money for the kid. Now, here's the beauty. You're an adult. When the kid turns 18 or 21 or whatever age you deem is necessary for them to receive the money, you have a certain tax rate. You have a tax bracket that you're in. Now, the beauty of it is that the kid will then get taxed on the growth at his or her tax rate, not yours. So they're going to be receiving money at a lower tax rate than if you pulled the money out and just gave it to them. So that was the other wealth building tool that I told him about, because I didn't like, you give somebody information and you just want to go. Like for me, I just want to go and just tell them everything. But I understand too that you can't tell everybody everything because you don't want to overload them with information and then have them overwhelmed, and then they end up doing nothing. So those were the two things that I talked about, but wisdom told me all of these different things, which is the reason why we are doing it for our son. We have the 529 and we have the UTMA. So the UTMA can actually be used, and we started the UTMA in 2021 around the pandemic time. And I believe my son was 9 at the time, and now he's 14. So we're investing for him every month. It's only 25 bucks. So again, that's another gem. You think that you need thousands of dollars to invest. No, you do not. You only need to be consistent at investing to make a lot of money investing. And you need to be in the habit and the routine of investing to make a lot of money from investing. And so he has uh, over $4,500 in his account at the time of this recording, but half of that, more than half of it, is gains because we just were consistently investing in the account. So I'm saying that to say that people may have you believe that you need a lot to make a lot. No, you need a lot of consistency to make a lot. Um, so if you're trying to build generational wealth for your kid, My thing would be to think back to when you were a kid and think back to the financial mistakes that you made and think about why you made those mistakes. A lot of times we make those mistakes because we were never taught, which is fine. But if you understand that you don't understand about money, it is your obligation, especially if you are a parent, to educate yourself on how money works. So therefore, your kid has a fighting chance out in the world. I'm not saying that you got to give them, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, even thousands of dollars, but at the very least, give them the information. And then hopefully, as you get good at the thing, then you'll start winning with money. And then when you start winning with money, then you'll want to give them more information. And then it'll be easier for them to receive the information because they see you winning with money. So I thought that this was a dope conversation that I had with my man, and I'm sure he's on his way now to get into it for his son. And the thing about it is, you can too. It doesn't matter where you are in life, but you just need to start, and you just need to have the desire to want more, and that desire will then drive you to getting more. But we have to make the right decision. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys because it's been helpful for me to be able to educate other people based on the stuff that I've learned, based on me wanting to better my family's life or lives, excuse me, and build that generational wealth that everybody talks about. And it's not a thing of just talk. We about that action. So I thought that this was a dope conversation again, and I just wanted to make sure I shared it. So if you need help, please seek the help that you need. I have free information on my website on how to reduce your expenses, and there's free tools on there as well. So again, if you are stuck and you don't know where to start, the answers are right in front of you. So get to it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.